Senator, you're born and raised in a border state, Arizona. Obviously, you have Hispanic lawmakers on the left, really raising a five-alarm fire about what's on the table in this deal. What do you say to them? And also, does our asylum process even work right now?
Well, I'll actually start with the second part of that question. And I think it's obvious that the asylum system is being exploited by criminal cartels in Mexico and throughout the world. And it's not functioning as it was intended to do. We created asylum laws in this country to ensure that people who were facing persecution in other countries could find a safe haven in the United States of America. It was designed to be rarely used and only for those individuals who cannot live safely in their home countries. Unfortunately, the cartels have exploited that system and are using it as a way to make a lot of money for themselves and send economic migrants to the U.S. Economic migrants are individuals who seek to work in the United States and for the large part are good folks. They want to make a better life in the U.S. They're not asylum seekers, however. And so it's clear that the system has been broken and exploited. What we're seeing on the border today, as you no doubt have seen in southern Arizona every day, is an unmitigated crisis. The number of individuals who are streaming into Arizona between our ports of entry, walking through holes in the border fence, numbers in the thousands every day in southern Arizona.
And from the Western Hemisphere, too, come into remote areas like Lukeville, for example.
That's right. Now, no one knew about Lukeville prior to about a week and a half ago, but now everybody in the country knows what Lukeville is. Lukeville is a very, very small community, incredibly small community. They don't have the capacity to manage this level of inflow from folks from around the world. And that's why we've seen those images of literally thousands of people sitting in the desert just waiting to be processed by our Customs and Border Patrol agents.
So what do you say then to Hispanic lawmakers who just yesterday called the proposals on the table, quote, unimaginably cruel?
Well, what's unimaginably cruel are the folks and the images that we see of folks and families sitting in the desert. You know, down at Lukeville, there were individuals who were sitting out in the desert without access to restrooms, without food, and without water, simply waiting to be processed by Customs and Border Patrol because we don't have enough person power to even manage that inflow. That is a humanitarian crisis. So the solution is to actually create an orderly process where those who do qualify for asylum have the opportunity to seek it in our country, and that those who do not have the opportunity to seek asylum in our country find other means to enter the country lawfully.
So it sounds like the meetings with the White House just last night, you had one with Secretary Mayorkas, went well. And it sounds like you're getting close, perhaps, to a final framework, a final deal. Do you think you can get that done this month? Or do you share the same opinion as Senator Cornyn, who said this is an exercise for January?
Well, you know, everyone will know this about me, that I'm not interested in debating the timelines. What I am interested in doing is moving the process forward. And what I've demonstrated in my 5 years in the United States Senate is that I have a proven track record of bringing disparate interests and groups together, finding common ground, and moving forward with bipartisan solutions. So the timeline is not a question for me. That's for other people.
But should the Senate stay in to finish it if you have momentum?
What I can promise is that I'll continue working. And I know that's not in anyone's doubt. My opinion is that we must work until we find the solution, because failure is not an option here. This is a crisis on the border. Arizona is depending on us to fix this crisis. And we know how important this element is to ensuring that we're fighting Putin and protecting and supporting our greatest ally in the Middle East, Israel.
We reported yesterday the latest that's kind of on the table. I know you're not one to negotiate in the public, so I'm not going to put you on the spot for that. But what I am going to do is ask whether those changes to the asylum process, the parole tightening, the Title 42-like provision that you're considering in this bill, whether all of those things are still on the table and if there's anything the White House is pushing back on.
Well, I'm not going to share the details of the negotiation. One of the ways that I'm able to help close negotiations over and over and over here in the United States Senate is by building trust. And that's my reputation. I'm going to hold on to it because I want to get us to an agreement. What I will say is that all the options that are on the table and under discussion right now are realistic and pragmatic options. And folks have a lot of emotions about them. But the reality is that these are realistic and pragmatic options that actually solve the crisis and allow us to move forward.
You talked about it yourself. We're in the room where you sealed many deals and you put people on the spot in both parties. I mean, you've done work on infrastructure, gun safety. The list really does go on. And so you know what it takes to seal a deal. Do you think the president in this case actually wants a deal on immigration?
I believe everybody wants a deal on this issue. What's difficult about it is this is the thorniest political issue, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years. It is an incredibly difficult and complex issue. Not only is it difficult from an emotional perspective, it is difficult from an operational perspective. It's very complex. And so we have to be very careful as we're negotiating that we both come to the right policy decisions and that we can actually implement them. So I believe everybody wants a solution. I think that the challenge here is to help people be willing to continue to compromise to get to that solution that is workable and implementable.
You think the White House is negotiating in good faith and they're ready to compromise?
I believe everyone is negotiating in good faith right now.
You told me back in the spring when we were in Arizona that immigration is your top focus. You sort of set out, I feel like each year that you've been in the Senate, I've been following you with a goal in mind to address specific issues. You've done that in other buckets. Now you want to do it on immigration too. That being said, you also said in an interview last week that Arizonans need you at the table on this issue, specifically on immigration. You've been a bridge between Republicans and Democrats. If you don't run, who fills that void?
I like the way that you've worked that in. That was probably the smoothest yet. But I'm not going to answer that question today because, as you can tell, I'm 100% focused on delivering a real result. Not only is Arizona depending on this, because you've seen yourself and your viewers have seen the absolute crisis that we're facing right now, but the stakes are high. It's not just about what's happening in border communities in Arizona. It's also about making this deal occur so that we can fight back against Putin's aggression and that we can protect Israel and, of course, our partners in the South Pacific. So the stakes are high, and I'm going to stay focused on that. I'll leave the politics to someone else.
Some of your friends across the aisle have pointed out the fact that the president put border funding, not policies, as part of the supplemental bill, kind of tying those issues together. Do you think that was a smart move by the administration?
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about that. It's not at all what I'm worried about. I'm 100% focused on just solving the challenge in front of us. The reality is that our border is broken. The system is being exploited by cartels. We have to fix it, and it's my goal to do just that.
You met with the Problem Solvers Caucus yesterday. I'm curious if you've had any conversations with Speaker Johnson or know really how he's going to take this bill.
Well, you know, Speaker Johnson keeps counsel with himself, and I really appreciate the work he's doing. What he's done today actually was a huge step forward. By clearing the National Defense Authorization Bill through the House today, he's got a major issue off his plate. So now it's ready to put some more issues on his plate. So I hope to be talking with him very soon.
Great. Just to follow up on that quickly, you've had a really great relationship with the former Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Do you still talk to him? Do you want to build that same kind of relationship with Johnson?
Well, I actually already have that relationship with Speaker Johnson. We know each other from House days, and I have spoken with him a number of times. And, you know, I think he's doing his very best in an incredibly difficult situation.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.